Hello, welcome to Biology, the scientific study of life, hormones, and the endocrine system. The body's long-distance regulators. People offer hormones as an explanation for the howling of Alice cats and the moodiness of tigers. In the United States, more than 1 million people with diabetes take a hormone insulin, and other hormones are used in cosmetics. To keep the skin smooth, or in livestock feed to fatten cattle. These powerful substances are also involved in even more dramatic transformations. In becoming an adult, a butterfly like the one in this figure undergoes a complete change of body form, a metamorphosis regulated by hormones. Internal communication involving those hormones enables different parts of the insect's adult body to develop in concert. An animal hormone is a chemical signal that is secreted into the extracellular fluid, is carried by the circulatory system in blood or homolymph, and communicates regulatory messages within the body. A hormone may reach all parts of the body, but only certain types of cells, the target cells, are equipped to respond. Thus, a given hormone traveling through the body elicits specific responses, such as a change in metabolism from its target cells, while other cell types are unaffected by that particular hormone. In this chapter, we will describe how the basic concepts of biological control systems apply the hormonal pathways and how hormones act on target cells. Here we will focus on hormones that help maintain homeostasis. Let's talk about the endocrine system and the nervous system act individually and together in regulating an animal's physiology. Animals have two systems of internal communication and regulation: the nervous system and the endocrine system. The nervous system conveys high-speed electrical signals along specialized cells called neurons. These rapid messages control the movement of body parts in response to sudden environmental changes, such as a cure when you jerk your hand away from a hot pan, or when your pupils dilate as you enter a dark room. Collectively, all of an animal's hormone-secreting cells constitute its endocrine system. Hormones coordinate slow but longer-acting responses to stimuli such as stress, dehydration, and low blood glucose levels. Hormones also regulate long-term developmental process by informing different parts of the body how fast to grow or when to develop. The characteristics that distinguish male from female or juvenile from adult. Hormone-secreting organs, called endocrine glands, are referred to as ductless glands because they secrete their chemical messengers directly into extracellular fluid. From there, the chemicals diffuse into the circulation. Overlap between endocrine and nervous regulation. While it is convenient to distinguish between the endocrine and nervous systems, in reality the lines between these two regulatory systems are blurred. In particular, certain specialized nerve cells, known as neurosecretory cells, release hormones into the blood via the extracellular fluid in animals as distinct as insects and vertebrates. A part of the brain contains a neurosecretory cells. The hormones produced by neurosecretory cells are sometimes called neurohormones to distinguish them from the classic hormones released by endocrine glands. A few chemicals serve both as hormones in the endocrine system and as chemical signals in the nervous system. Epinephrine, for example, functions in the vertebrate body as the so-called fight or flight hormone produced by the adrenal medulla and endocrine gland, and as a neurotransmitter, a local chemical signal that conveys messages in the nervous system. In addition, the nervous system plays a role in certain sustained responses, for example, controlling day-night cycles and reproductive cycles in many animals, often by increasing or decreasing secretion from endocrine glands. Thus, although the endocrine and nervous systems are anatomically distinct, they interact functionally in regulating a number of physiological processes, control pathways, and feedback loops. Let's review the fundamental concept of biological control systems and apply them to regulation by hormones. A receptor or sensor detects a stimulus, for example, a change in blood calcium level, and sends the information to a control center after comparing the incoming information to a set point or desired value. The control center sends out a signal that directs an effector to respond in endocrine and neuroendocrine pathways. This outgoing signal, called an efferent signal, is a hormone or a neurohormone which acts on particular effector tissues and elicits specific physiological or developmental changes. The three types of simple hormonal pathways depicted in this figure include these basic functional notice that okay include these basic functional components of a control system not depicted in this figure are complex neuroendocrine pathways in which a hormone secreted by one endocrine tissue acts on another endocrine tissue, controlling its release of a different hormone, which even acts on target tissues. Regulation by each of the 20 or so different hormones. Another common feature of control pathways is feedback loop connecting the response to the initial stimulus. In negative feedback, the effector response reduces the initial stimulus and eventually the response ceases. This feedback mechanism prevents overaction by the system, the wild fluctuations in the variable being regulated. Negative feedback operates in many endocrine and nervous pathways, especially those involved in maintaining homeostasis. We will examine how negative feedback contributes to the hormonal control of blood calcium and glucose levels. In contrast to negative feedback, which dampens the stimulus, positive feedback reinforces the stimulus and leads to an even greater response. The neurohormone pathway that regulates the release of milk by a nursing mother is an example of positive feedback. Schooling stimulates sensory nerve cells in the nipples, which send nervous signals that eventually reach the hypothalamus, the control center. An outgoing signal from the hypothalamus triggers the release of the neurohormone oxytocin from the posterior pituitary gland. Oxytocin then causes the mammary glands to secrete milk. The release of milk in turn leads to more scaling and stimulation of the pathway until the baby is satisfied. Okay, thanks for